Matt Sidman, founder of TEQWORKS. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Morning, Alex. Thanks for having me.
We'll do a little cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Here we go.
Thanks for being here. Good to see you at the event, too. Random Acts Matters. If you're in Fox Valley, St. Charles area, a really good organization that is doing a lot of good. And Jim and you guys, I know there's a few people on the board that we're all connected to that it's just cool to hear the stories. Back we were talking about before we aired here and went live, the stories of the impact that people are making. Really, really cool.
The reason really does matter. I mean, the random acts matter, right? You know, the brainchild of Jim T'Challa,
Yes.
Charlie Murphy. I know they kind of came up
Yes.
with it, just kind of sitting around at one of the local coffee shops, our CDM throw out to them. But, you know, when Jim handed it off to Michelle, and she's really kind of solidified that it's not just a Jim thing, which is a great
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And then now handing it off to Lisa as the current president. Yeah, they recognize an opportunity to really make a difference here, utilizing the business community as well to forward their message, and them being able to really just put something together in relatively short notice that had amazing response, full community support at this little event. At the Wine Exchange, it was the showing was fantastic. The message was great. Love being involved with them. So.
Yeah, it was a good turnout. 90-something people, or
Yeah, they had planned for just short of 80, and they had over 100 people respond and confirm. And I think they were really close to that. Not a whole lot of no-shows.
What's cool about hearing the stories of the impact of those types of events and any kind of non-for-profit or organization that's doing good for the community, not trying to just make a dollar, but just really trying to help people. It kind of puts life into perspective for me. And I'm sitting there listening to stories. I'm like, man, I need to get more involved in this stuff. Like, you know, you get so busy in your day-to-day stuff. And I know you're a father, I'm a father. It's like, you just get really busy. And then you kind of sometimes put that other stuff on the back burner. And then you go to one of those events and you hear the stories and you go, man, I gotta, what am I doing that's good? You know, obviously I'm helping my client, I'm doing good things. I'm gonna try to be a good person, but like, am I going out of my way to make an impact?
You're right. You know, and it you can tell when people are doing the work because they love to and they want to and they want to make an impact versus are they checking a box while I'm doing my community service event, right? Or things like that. It's when you meet those people and you get involved with those organizations that you start to feel this is a pretty special community. There's great hearts here. There's wonderful non-for-profits and wonderful for-profit and government organizations here right in this community that really makes so much life worthwhile around here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I don't know about you, but there's something about when you can see the impact that you make, it just means so much more. Like, for example, if you're online and you see a donation for, hey, send $50 and it goes to this program, totally fine to do that. But when you have somebody in the community that's a little bit closer to the heart and your friends and things like that, and maybe even you see the outcome, like they told the story about buying the kid that, you know, got his bike stolen or whatever had happened, and he rode his bike to and from school and after school and stuff like that, and you know, they show up with a new bike and you get to kind of hear about that or see the impact. I think that to me like pulls on my heartstrings and makes me think, man, that's what I want to do. I want to see the impact if I can, not because I want credit. I just want to. If no one knows I did it, I just want to see the impact because that makes me feel good selfishly, you know?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of need in our community that you don't see every day,
Yeah.
right? And so you still need those organizations who have that visibility,
Totally.
that direct impact. But to understand who those organizations are, that you can make that impact, you can show up and volunteer and see the direct impact as well.
That's it.
You know, to throw more out, you know, Lazarus House is one of those organizations that's right downtown St. Charles. You can volunteer, but knowing that it's there and meeting a real need that's right in our community that you may not see every single day, but it's really here. But you're right, to impact all types of individuals and organizations right here in our community, see how you help them to get the validation, even if you want to call it that they a thank you, an improvement that you know that you helped. It really becomes part of the why.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a soft spot for kids too, as I think a lot of people do. There's just something about a kid that like didn't have a choice, and sometimes in the environment that they're at. And even though adults go through hardship too, and there's things out of their control sometimes, and everyone needs help at times.
Yeah, now you're hitting a soft spot for me. So
I know,
exactly,
I can tell.
right?
I can tell. Me too. I you know, especially when you have kids too. And I've been in tough times years ago, you know, with my kids too. So it's like you just really have a soft spot for those kids. So at the event, we're going to get into a bunch of stuff. Obviously, you're a founder of TEQWORKS. So we were talking before we went live. You're kind of doing some resetting in the business. And I think a lot of people seem to be doing that right now. And I think as we come to the end of the year, you're kind of going through a reflection moment anyways. I'd love to dive into that and a bunch of more things on how you've grown your company. And you've been in business, 24 years?
Yeah, we're in year 24.
I mean, that's incredible, man, and growing. And so I first wanted to ask you back to that event. You were wearing an orange suit. And it seems to be that's not the only place you've worn that. You're very vibrant when it comes to that. Is there a purpose behind that?
Somehow just over the years, the color orange has seemed to pervade in just about all the things I do.
I mean, obviously it's in your logo and that kind of stuff.
It's in my logo. To be completely transparent, I went to the University of Illinois, so I'm a Fighting Illini at heart. So you kind of have orange in everything that you do there.
Yeah.
Random Acts Matter seems to have orange.
That's
in
right.
there.
Yeah.
When I had a choice of building my company and I rebranded it in around 2009, decided to pull that in there. It wasn't your traditional red or blue that you see. It was something that we thought was just going to be a little distinctive, and it just kind of felt part of the heart.
Yeah.
And so all the other things there too. So yeah, orange is fun. It's vibrant. It shows up a little bit. It shows confidence yet fun and playfulness. And so that's what we like about that.
Yeah, it's bold. It's differentiation. We'll get into a little bit more of that later, but I like that. How would you describe what you guys do in a sentence or two?
Sure. We are IT providers. Basically, we are the IT security that our whole mission is to bolster and help all the organizations in our community be stronger in our own local economy. That means making technology an advantage for them, because so many organizations find it as a scary thing. And we try to remove the fear, try to help them move forward, use things to help their organizations just grow better, find more clients, reach public, and do their mission better.
Incredible. And in 24 years, what's the timeline? If we could look at the timeline kind of on a macro level, because I think, man, I've been in business for 5 years. I guess I'll be going on 6 next year, which isn't a lot compared to 24.
Yeah.
So my timeline looks a little bit different, but I think back like the first year had a certain elements and properties to it. The second year, the third year was a different season for me. Now I'm in a new season, and they're both full of challenges and upsides and things like that. But if you were to look at the timeline, what was the journey like?
Yeah, the journey starts way before that too. But as far as, and we can get to there. But
how so? With a different business?
Well, sure. This is a family-run business. My father and I started this in 2002.
Wow.
He and I
That's
put together 45 years combined in working in corporate America in IT and management consulting.
Wow. Is he around today?
Yeah, he is. He lives here in Geneva.
Nice.
So yeah, he's kind of out of the business, but he is probably my most trusted advisor. If I had a board of directors, he is my chairman. He brings so much acumen and expertise of how to work with people and processes and business and all the things. Even when I think I'm an expert, there are always things that I don't know that he's a phone call away. Yeah, which is wonderful.
Really cool.
But I worked for Accenture, at what was Anderson Consulting back in the day, for about 10 years. He worked for large organizations like IBM and GE, Keen Consulting, Price Waterhouse, and so he and I brought this really just big company rigor and expertise and how they help change, how they manage their people and their processes. And, if you remember the old Y2K thing that happened.
Yes, I do.
We both managed projects.
So funny.
People so
freaked
weird,
out.
Right? Right. We freaked out for what felt like a lot of nothing, but at the time was, felt like a cliff.
Yeah.
And when we got done with all that, when it was around 2000, 2001, he's traveling around the world, I'm traveling around the world, and both of us somewhere around the same time said, yeah, this is kind of enough, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm starting to raise a family. And I knew what it took to become like a managing partner for a large organization like that.
Right.
And I knew that if I were to raise a family, I probably was not going to have that home life that I craved. So stepping away was a decision both hard and handed to me at the same time. And both of us looked at each other and said, well, what should we do something together? And I'll never forget, he said, well, as long as I don't have to get on a plane ever again, let's figure it out. So we kind of thought, well, we have a lot of expertise on how to grow and manage businesses. Yeah. We thought maybe there was a community local, that maybe there were small businesses that wanted to get out of the small business feel. And so we thought we'd bring that expertise. So Fast forward to 2002, we opened our doors, named our company Argus Business Consulting Services, which a few
I like TEQWORKS better.
Yeah, a few years later, we realized that's a really hard name to market because it doesn't say anything about what we do other than business consulting services. In those first couple of years was really just trying to figure out what is it we do well that would be taken well. And our first handful of clients right here in the community said, sure, yeah, we'd love some coaching, but could you fix this computer while you're doing it? And it was, because we're in that mode of whatever, you're going to pay me for it? Sure. Yeah. Started crawling under desks, replacing servers, doing cabling. Wow. And within a couple of years, we started figuring out that's something that we could do well. We were not your average, techie in the back closet. We were more business focused, but we could do the tech. Again, we kind of got into this thing where we didn't get into the billable hours thing. It was always chasing the mechanic type way of going about things. We didn't feel like we were being a partner. So in 2004, we changed everything over to basically a flat fee. However sized business you are, whether it's one person or 50, we're going to come up with a plan and we're just going to do everything as if we're an IT manager for you and staff. The birth of managed services is really what that was. Two of us, my mom joined us to help us do billing. So now it's the three of us for about 3-4 years. Brought on my first real employee in 2007, who then stayed with us for 17 years. Wow. My brother then joined us in 2008. He was by trade a civil engineer working in the home building industry. And if you recall 2008, the home building industry disappeared. Yes. So he joined us at that point and has been with us ever since. He is now my COO, Chris. Wow. So that first 6 to 7 years was really a lot about finding ourselves, surviving a recession. And so that was kind of our first round there. That second,
pause you really quickly on this first 6 to 7 years.
Sure.
I think a lot of newer entrepreneurs have, and even ones that maybe have been doing it a couple of years, think that by year 3 or 4 or 5, everything's going to be figured out. And it's almost refreshing to hear you say that it's 6 or 7 years in, it's kind of when you started to really find yourself and find your groove and get some momentum. Is that right?
It was. It was a combination of a lot of things. It was this real desire to build something that was our families, that was something legacy that we can do. At the same time, dealing with all of the imagine working full time with family, your father, your son, your kids, your husband, your wife, your whatever.
Is that fun though?
Sure. Not always. To be honest, it's not always fun because work seems to arrive at Thanksgiving dinner too.
Right,
so there's no real break. Right. But at the same time, we knew that there was, we just felt that there was some value there that we were doing. There was a phrase that I started using very beginning when I did this, because I had to keep in mind, what it was like at my old job to this new one. And the whole phrase that I always kept saying was never miss a moment. I now had a son in 2006. And at that point, I just made a commitment that I got to be there. I got to not get on a plane all the time. I got to be there for, the first steps, and then those first baseball practices, and driving him to the first day to school, and then all of those times, over those years, being at all the band concerts and baseball games and tennis matches and school events. So when we looked at those first couple years, we weren't getting huge success. We were paying bills, but we were getting feedback from clients that we were doing good things. And the personal joy of knowing that I got to work with my dad was something I knew I couldn't have traded in. And so it was worth stretching out the time to see what would work.
I think that's an important sacrifice to make. Sacrifice some revenue for not missing the moments, as you say. What was there a period in time? And again, I think that's important to say. I want to go back to my thought here, but I've never missed a single event of my kids because of work. But I will not lie and say that I haven't been working late at night, or they wanted to do something. I'm working or whatever it is. Of course, you have to make trade-offs to grow a business. But there was never an event that they had, or a birthday, or something that really was meaningful to them that I missed. And I feel like whenever I was with them, I tried to be as present as I could. I did the best I could. And kids remember that, and that's really all they want from you. And I think I was always like, look, maybe I'm not going to build the next, Google, right? Like, I'm okay with that because what I don't want to do. And I hear this from a lot of older founders where they did the opposite of what you did, Matt, and they sacrificed all these things. And they look back and they never say, I wish I would have made a little bit more money. They look back and say, I wish I would have just spent a little more time with my family and my kids. Man, I was never home. I was always gone traveling. And I was just like, that's never going to be me. Yeah. I have my kids 50% of the time. I'm separated from their mom, but we have a good relationship. And when I'm with them, like I try to be all in with them. And if I travel, it's the days I'm not there with their mom. And so I just really try to make it work from that standpoint. And I don't regret any of that. Yeah. It's the best. I'm so happy I made that decision. And that was always clear for me. It was never, probably like you, it was never a question. It was just like, no, I'm not trading that time.
Alex, this is why we're talking here today. Because I feel this as well. It's the same on this side here. To be able to look back, my son is now 19, a sophomore in college. Yeah. I just got to spend the weekend with him, just a couple of days down there for Dad's weekend down there. And, he and I just spent most every minute we could together that he wasn't, committed to being in the marching band down there, which was great too. Right. But just to walk in the door and just see the welcome and feel that he's really enjoys your company. You're right. I think that is all the little moments that don't seem to matter at the time, but when you look back, they all add up.
They do.
And just, again, never missing a moment, being there, being present at that moment is hard, but it's absolutely worth every little bit of fiber of effort.
Definitely. And even I would say for me, entrepreneurship has actually given me more flexibility because I'm able to pick my kids up, drop them off. My oldest goes to Redling. She's in middle school. Early release on Wednesdays, 1:50. I mean, it's like kind of in the middle of the day, but I pick her up. We make it work, So it's like, those are the things that if you did have a traditional job or you're grinding away in corporate, someone else is going to have to make that pickup, And so, when you were 5-6 years in, kind of before you maybe started taking off or really feeling good about the business, were there moments where you said, and you thought, maybe this isn't going to be something big?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. At that point, it really still wasn't that far removed where I was working, again, this Big Five consulting job where I was based in, downtown Chicago. And I knew, let's put it this way, I knew what, associate partners and partners took home for pay. Right. I knew that was a path for me had I chosen that direction. Even just from the financial standpoint, you're like, well, am I ever going to get that dream? Am I ever going to get to that point where, I want to take a vacation whenever I wanted to, which was another thing there. When I was doing this thing, those first 4 or 5 years, taking a vacation wasn't really a thing. Right. Taking a vacation somewhere when I was the person clients would call, right? They didn't shut down for a week. IT services still needed to happen. And being anywhere, with my wife at that time, we would take a trip to Napa Valley, and I'm having her drive because I have to take a phone call or whatever. And you just never really stepped away. Excuse me. So that was always a challenge. You always wondered. I always thought about, well, what did I really sacrifice for this? Is everything what I was hoping for? Plus,
so it takes a lot of mental toughness to stay in the game, I think, too, because you do lose some confidence at times. You do get knocked down a lot in business, and for you to kind of stay in the game. Because I'm sure if you were to come back now, at the spot that you're in now with yourself and the business and where you're at in life, if you were to look at that, Matt, of 5 years in, 4 years in, whatever it might be, you can sit them down and go, everything's going to be good, man. Just stay focused. Keep going. Keep getting better. Keep serving your clients. Keep making an impact. Remember the moments. Stay in the moments, and you're going to be fine.
And that's what you have to keep telling yourself. Yeah. And the state of the soul entrepreneur, and even with my dad and me, still the phase of the soul entrepreneur really is it's always the chasing all right, where's the next work coming from? Right. Okay, let me do the work and do it as well as possible. And you wonder well, how do I separate the doing from the finding new work? Yes. How do you get a sales process? How do you get how do you build new tools? How do you keep up on new technology? How do you do all of those things without a staff, right? So those all become big questions in your head of well, if I really want to scale, how do I handle all of these 17 hats and finally grow a way that I can put some hats on other people, and you're just not in that position early.
Sometimes I think about my journey as an entrepreneur, and again, only being 5 years in, it's not been a ton of time, but I sometimes think about, man, is this kind of it? Have I reached my, peak, and like, do I want to grow the company and have headcount, and sometimes I think, I don't know, was it bigger than what I thought? But also like lifestyle wise, it's really good and I'm doing well and we're not struggling, so it's like, and my clients are happy and I'm having fun and we are growing, but not at the rate that maybe I would have loved to 4 years ago or thought it would have been. And then I sometimes have to tell myself, Alex, this is just chapter 1, dude. Like, you could start another business off this, or this business could turn into something else with one partnership or one this or that. And it's like, I find myself telling myself, enjoy the ride as much as you can. And it's like, hey, it's a little slower right now. Okay. It's busier right now. It's like, enjoy those moments. When it's slower, enjoy the fact that you have a little more time, reflect a little bit more, spend more time with the kids. When it's busier, enjoy that you have work and be grateful for that. So I think it's just reflection and putting things in perspective. It's everything.
1,000%. And something that I had noticed as well is sometimes the journey is what matters, right? The journey is, are there people that you all of a sudden meet who step up to help you, or you've helped, and they impact you in ways you never expected. Because I don't have an online store business, everything that we do is interpersonal. The people that I've met have taken... They've given me thoughts on how we can run our business and how we can impact the community or organizations that I've then decided to become part of, simply because I met the people. And the different chapters. Whether I'm in one chapter right now, maybe TEQWORKS is my chapter 1, and who knows if I have a chapter 2 later on, or whether it's 10 chapters. I've gotten to a point where I'm not quite sure I'm concerned about what those chapters are. To be clear, it took year 19 and 20, for me to actually say, we're paying the bills, we're happy. I got a staff of 9 people, which is pretty good. We've, we made the big small business thresholds of getting out of that first year and making your first $1 million, which are big deals. And but there was a point when I looked at it and I said, is this all we can be? That question you just asked, is this it?
And is it all you want to be too?
And am I okay with that? Right. If this is as big as it gets, and I'm just churning and, making good lives for our employees and impacting our community in the way we can, and bringing home enough to pay the things that I'm paying for at home, and being able to send my kid off to college, is that really what I want it to be? And that takes a lot of soul searching because of what you've done for now 20 years is a lot of who you are. Right. So we had to go through a lot of that. And I actually made the decision and sat the family down. My dad, my mom, and my brother, call it my steering committee. And I said, let's talk about this. Where do we want to go? And we all made a decision. Said, okay, well, what are you thinking? What does that look like? And should we try to make some leaps? And that's been their last 3 years. Is we put together a plan to see, well, how broad can and impactful in our community. It's always been our focus, and our mission is to be a technology firm that supports our community.
I can tell.
We don't advertise really outside the Fox River Valley area. We have clients throughout and global, but basically the things that we get involved in are the events that are here, whether they're St. Charles, Geneva, Batavia, Elgin, Aurora, organizations that are right here supporting. And so we decided, well, what does that look like? If we were to take this and make a quantum leap here, what does that mean for us? Does that mean infusion of cash? Does it mean look like investors? Does it mean just looking at our processes and getting better people or adding our people? So we've been kind of heading down that path. No, not kind of. We've been headlong down that path for the past 3 years, just reevaluating that we feel that we have more impact to the community. The stronger we are as an organization, the more impact that we can make. And so that's where we've started to go.
It's interesting because I kind of, with this podcast, we were talking a little bit before we went live, you were asking me what made you start the podcast, and kind of curious about this. And one of the things I love deep conversations. That's you seem to be that same way too. Like I'm at a surface level. How's it going? Good. How are you? Good. It's like
right.
I enjoy going deep on whatever it is. If it's space, entrepreneurship, where the world is right now, whatever that is. So I enjoy these conversations, but I really thought it was an opportunity to I've done well on LinkedIn and with social media and that kind of stuff. And you meet customers from all across the country and really the world. And that's been good for us. But I'm like, man, locally, I haven't really like built a community and like gotten involved and made the impact I wanted to in this. And I love this area. If you live here, you love it. You're passionate about it, And I was like, if I were to have a podcast, I'd done a couple other ones that were virtual. And I was like, but if I were to do one live, and you can only be on it if you're willing to come here and have a conversation face to face, because that interaction is totally different than what you get on a Zoom call, as you know. It's just night and day. I said, well, that would probably start some pretty cool relationships. That would make an impact in the community, and it would allow me to bring founders together. And I think, the way I look at this podcast is this is the start. We're going to have some virtual events coming up, and then we're going to do some, or maybe we just go straight to live events. We're going to start doing some live events and because pretty much all founders that have been on the show are local, and they're awesome business owners that are doing incredible things in different industries. And I'm like, this would be a cool way to kind of branch off and start doing some events, and what that looks like, I got to kind of come up with. But I felt that same kind of desire, the community, and I think especially with AI and automation and everything virtual, this, and we're going to automate and streamline this, and it's not going to, I'm like, I think what we're all going to crave over the next few years is human connection and community and purpose,
That was, you used the word, and I know people say it, with some lip service, but the word you used was relationships. And I know people talk about, well, you got to build relationships.
Yeah.
But the people who know how to build relationships.
Yes.
And build relationships have to be meaningful. And
yeah.
business opportunities, more times than not, come because there's a relationship, whether it's a sales client relationship, where it's traditional, or you're having a relationship with people in your community because you show up to the same events and you show the same interests as them.
Right.
Relationships have to do with what you are offering.
Right.
How you are enriching the other person.
Yes.
You've learned through growing your LinkedIn, and if you were on Twitter or other social media, you get followers when you are offering them something.
You got to give.
If you are going out there with your sales message every single time, if you're going to the Chamber of Commerce leads events and you're just saying, hey, buy my stuff.
Right.
Not many people are following you unless they had that urgent need, and that's transactional.
Yeah, and the same on LinkedIn. When you have companies just posting, here's what we're doing, here's this, here's what we do. It's like, no one cares,
and
right?
True personal and business growth happens when when there's a cycle, right? Then that there's a perpetual give and take that enriching the lives together. When it leaves the transactional state of like, well, I have this thing, buy it, walk away. Hey, I have this event, come to it, right? But when you are interested specifically in the other person or the other organization's mission, what makes sense to them, what really gets their emotions up, and you support those things, trust gets built. And they learn who you are as a person, and learn who you are as an organization or a service, and you're giving to theirs, they're giving to you, and you're all 3 times stronger than you ever would have been on your own.
Totally agree. The reset, is that what we were describing before we went on air, and you were talking about just a little bit of the last 3 years? Is that what you're talking about when you had to hit the reset? And I'm curious, if so, what did you guys decide? You all sat down.
It's interesting. The story I like to talk about is when I go back pre TEQWORKS, when I was back with Accenture.
Okay.
My whole job at that time was teaching Fortune 25 and Fortune 50 companies on how to evaluate what they do, how they do it, who they do it with, right? The people, processes, and technology that are either hindering or enabling them to grow and meet their mission, right? I spent a long time with Ameritech and SBC Global working on their systems. And, we had this incredible methodology that was built by this super large organization.
Yeah.
But when it came down to it, it really had to do with what are your core values? What's your mission? Are the people that you have aligned with those things? Are the systems that you have in place supporting your people? Are they enabling your people? So when I looked at my organization, I dug out all those materials. And these materials were 25 years old, right?
Took the dust off them.
Exactly. And I started reading through it. At the same time, another friend of mine dropped off the Traction book.
Yeah.
Right? Are you familiar with
EOS,
Traction?
yeah.
The EOS, right? And I opened that book and I said, this is exactly the same stuff I did 25 years ago. Different words, different tools, different templates, but the concepts were exactly the same. And I asked myself, why am I not treating myself as a client? This is what I would have done. This is how I would have coached another organization that was running into an existential question about what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so I dug it all out. Through this process, met several other wonderful people you've had on your podcast here, Keith Seaback and Robert Sachs and others who have been in this space for the longest time, and just bouncing ideas off of them. And there was a point that I said, if I really, what would make me happy, right? How can it really help our organization impact our community? How do I enrich our own employees? And how do I create legacy in this organization? So we, as a family, looked at this and said, all right, well, what is it that we want to be? And over the last couple of years, we kind of went back and looked at all the employees that we've had. We looked at all the commentary the clients had ever given us and said, what are the core values that not only that we perceive internally, but our clients and the community sees in us. And we did this thing where we talked to all of our people about, what do you think these look like? And we came up with 5 really strong core values. We built a core value wall in our office. We moved into new office space and it's wallpapered all over the place. Really cool impact, but not lip service again.
Yeah, that's key.
And so when we did that, we started looking at that. And then when we started implementing that, we also realized that there were some people in our organization that just didn't believe it. They weren't pulling the weight with us, and nothing against them or us. It's a really hard decision to make and realization to realize that people who have been on the journey with you are no longer the right fit for us,
right?
Or vice versa. Maybe the direction we're going isn't something that they want to do. And culminating to 2024, probably the hardest year we've ever had in what was 23 years. We said goodbye to almost half of our staff.
Wow.
Turned it over, and of all those, only one person we let go. The other ones were conversations of where do you want to be, helping them move on to other things while we found people who wanted to do what we wanted to do. And that was really, really hard. Not only internally, a lot of it internally, just because we're training new people to do what we think we do well, but also the impact to our clients. Our clients see that's a lot of new names coming through here.
Right.
But what we've seen over the past year have been more comments of, wow, these people really care. Yeah. And that's what we were looking for. People who care what we want to do, people we can care for as well. So
it's not just checking a box.
It wasn't. So on top of the things that we already do, from the IT support, the security, cybersecurity, training clients on AI, all that stuff, we just knew that we needed a better approach, because every single person in our organization is a relationship builder, right? We are not just, again, we're just not techies in the closet, just doing the things and fixing the stuff and dealing with your spam. We had to really double down on our culture, that we had people who are relationship builders with our end users and our clients and business owners and community partners. And that's been hard, but we think that's going to reap immense benefits down the road.
So when you're sitting down with your family, right, your dad, brother, mom, you, and you're saying, hey guys, look, we can keep going the route we're going now, and this is kind of not it for us, but this is kind of where the business sort of plateaus or peaks, right? Or we can decide we want to take this thing to the next level, and we see more potential than what is currently here today. Mm-hmm. I'm curious what the driving motivation was it sounds like everyone said, yes, more potential, let's go for it. Let's put more into this. Is that right? Did everyone say yes, or was there a couple people that were like, I don't know?
Yeah, it's very, very, very trustful. Obviously, we're a tight-knit family. Right. But the first conversation, let's just say I was more energetic about it than everybody else.
What was driving your motivation to want to take it to the next level? Because why not just, you could just kept it there?
There were a lot of different motivations. Okay. And I wish I could say that it's just, hey, we could be making more money, because that's a motivation for a lot of people. And that's part of it. There's, are we able to pay our people where we want them to go? There was a significant desire that I thought that we could be more impactful in the community. For example, I've been serving on the board at Kane County for a long time now, for almost 6 years. And I see their needs, and I was limited either on a financial standpoint or even a bandwidth standpoint of what I could do for them. We saw other needs in the community as well, that I had this desire that, can we grow a philanthropic end of our organization that just simply based on our revenues didn't support. Also, I was seeing people in our own organization saying, is this everything I get to do, right? Do I just get to be a tech on the phone all the time? Are there areas for us to grow? And the way we were structured on that side limited them. Right. They could be a tech, they could be a level 2 tech, they could maybe add some cybersecurity, and maybe they could manage a team in there. Right. But if they wanted to be something more, like they said, can I get into the sales end of this? Because some of your really good techs have a great personality to work with end users and end clients and business owners. But if they don't have the opportunity, you lose them. Right. So just with, again, there are maybe about 8, 9, 10, 11 different reasons there that we just knew that we were limited in what we can offer the community, our family, and the people, that if we didn't restructure and reevaluate how we did our stuff, we were just going to be what we were.
Was any of it based on your potential as an individual? Meaning, I sometimes think about Alex, there's that saying, I don't know if you've heard it before, but they say hell is when you get, if there is such a thing, hell is when you get down there and they say, hey, you were this person, you were Matt throughout your entire life. Here's the Matt that you could have been. Here's the person that did go for it, that did risk it, that did work harder, that did put, this first or whatever it might be. And they show you that person and you see, wow, that's who I could have been. And so I sometimes don't think about that exact example, but I think about, am I living my full potential or working really towards it? And that's health, that's being a dad, that's being a partner, that's being a business person. It's not just growing the business. But I'm curious if that was part of it too. Maybe you had internal dialogue to say, all right, Matt, is this?
It's a great question that I'm not entirely sure I've actually dived into. The concept of what you're saying is not foreign to what I'm thinking back on. And, obviously I was asking the question, is TEQWORKS everything it can be, right? No desire for it to be this global powerhouse and competing with the huge organizations that do a lot what we do for the enterprises.
Right. Because then you're probably gone all the time, and that defeats your purpose of being in the moment, right?
Sure. And let's also look at it this way. We support organizations that are 1 to 100 people, okay? And most organizations that we support are between 2 and 15 people. There are so many other tech companies that say, yeah, it's too small for us.
Right.
To me, that's where the impact is, right?
Yeah, totally.
We're dealing with that entrepreneur, that business owner, that attorney, that managing partner of a small law firm who goes home and sends their kids off to Redling or writing. They're here in the community. Yeah. Not that corporate managers or whatever don't live in our community. Right. But we just felt that if we stayed focused on this small local business, there's a lot here for us, right? But the thoughts of, well, does TEQWORKS evolve into one of these large organizations, and maybe we're a target for acquisition, and that's where we can really get our generational wealth. That's never far from your mind. The private equity world is incredibly weird right now, and a lot of stuff going on, but that's never been our motivation. With me personally, which is kind of where your question was, I think that came later through this process. Remember when I said, when I wanted to figure out, can we be more? And I dusted off all the stuff. One of the things that rekindled was, where did I see myself back when I was working, right out of college and working with one of the biggest and most successful organizations in the world?
Yeah.
You have those when you're 25 years old, you have those dreams. And you look back after 25 years, now I've doubled my age, and I said, that feeling hasn't gone away. Where can you go? Would this mean anything for me?
Yeah.
Of course it would. But what I have found over the last couple of years, I have gotten more enjoyment, and I can't explain it any more different than that. Then again, back to relationships, that my decision for us to be way more visible in the community and way more supportive in our community, the relationships and the people that I've met, and the look on their faces when they say, "You guys really helped us," that's the stuff. That's the stuff that I felt like, all right, well, when I'm done and somebody looks back and say, "Hey, what did Matt Sidman do for us?" If it was that we brought joy, or we brought them confidence that they can grow their organizations, and we, or even I, get known for that to me is absolutely everything.
So it sounds like the move 3 years ago was worth it today.
It has been. It's a never-ending thing. If you talk to anybody who's done this traction or EOS implementation, it's not a one-time project, right?
It's kind of a lifestyle.
Right. It's kind of like getting in shape, right? You
Right.
can't just do the diet and be in shape and you're good. It becomes a lifestyle change. And so, the shift in focus to me has been, it has felt like we kind of came out of a cloud of, well, let's come in every day and let's answer the questions and deal with the security breach, and let's deal with the tickets, the trouble tickets every day. To me, it feels like we're working towards something greater than just the blocking and tackling every single day. And that's what I needed. I needed a direction.
Looking back in the last 3 years, what would you tell yourself or what advice would you give yourself that maybe you missed, maybe you overlooked, or someone going through this, a founder listening right now, it's kind of getting ready to go through this process? What might be one piece of advice you'd have?
I wish that 3-4 years ago, I had spent more time up front talking to other people about it. I was still in that mode of, well, I've done this largely by myself all this time. I can fix this, right? And the real value has come out when I've actually realized I don't have all the answers, which is a really painful thing for me to say to myself. When I say I need help, it's probably one of the hardest things I ever have to do. But once I started asking questions, so many people were willing to talk or listen. And, everybody's willing to give advice, but to getting so much feedback and being able to balance it out and feel out for us what was right and works. And even then the relationships that built from that I wish I had done a long time ago and gotten out of my head and thinking that I can just do this myself.
There's a good lesson there, just getting vulnerable, pushing the ego aside, because naturally we have a strong ambition and ego to want to build something from scratch. It's hard, it's tough. It takes a certain level of let's go get it.
Yep.
And you have to have that. But on the flip side, it sometimes can slow us down. And then, we can not ask for help or be vulnerable or share certain things or admit that we don't have all the answers. And then we find ourselves coming to the conclusion that we don't have all the answers anyways. And we have to maybe get help or seek guidance or even just sometimes talk to somebody else about it. It's just nice that's why I love these conversations too, is that's really cool for me to hear, what you've been through. And that's going to give me things to reflect on. And I'll share things that hopefully people can listen and can reflect on. And I think that's like what it's all about.
I heard the one message that was probably loudest, and that just basically goes right to what you were just saying, is that of all that feedback, the one thing that people said, well, what's keeping you from growing the way you want to? And through all the assessments and all the feedback, it all ended up being that I was the limiter. That I had control, that I wanted sales to go through me. I wanted our client satisfaction to go through me. I wanted the tools that we decided that I wanted to be impactful on those, hiring our people, dealing with HR issues and legal and the finances all went through me, which meant only the capacity that I could handle it, which was also part of the reason why sometimes I lost people that didn't stick around with me, because this insistent of control, right? That this is my thing. I'm responsible for growing it. Therefore, I'm going to be the one to do it. The feedback that I got was I have to get out of my own way, and I've got to trust people and build all the internal relationships to get things going, and allow. If I hired the right people, and if I had the right people working with us and following, I had better let them do what they're going to do. And that was probably one of the hardest things, other than just saying I need help, but actually to step aside and trust the people around us. And I think I'm reaping the benefits of today. I am surrounded by some really, really good hearts and minds in our company right now, that right now I would trust them to, hey, I need you to pick up my son, or right, they're just really good people, and I need to trust that they can take things when things need to be taken.
Yeah. If you look at kind of some of the key drivers to grow in the business over the last several years, whether it's client acquisition, retention, client service, what are some of the maybe one or two key things that you're like, when we're doing this, it took the business to the next level? And maybe that's something that, somebody listening, a founder, entrepreneur listening could take, whether it's, again, client acquisition, client retention, client service. So I think about those kind of the main three buckets in a business.
So I think the differentiator for us as to why client retention works for us, and over the last couple of years, why client acquisition has been better, is because the feedback that we have gotten is that when our people work with our clients, from whether they're setting them up or helping them in that incredibly stressful moment that their computer just flat out does not work, it is that care and empathy. Care and empathy is really one of our core values. We feel like it sets people aside, it sets us aside. But when we really started focusing on, guys, you can solve your tech, my guys, our team, you can solve tech issues all you want. We can handle their questions about our bills all they want. But if we are not looking at it from their perspective on how crappy their day is because something's not working, we're just not building relationships. We've not exploded growth in quantum levels. It's always been this trickle growth. But our client retention is second to none. We just don't lose our relationships with our clients because they come to us and they like working with our people. And the empathy and care that we provide with them lets them know that we feel like we're part of them. And so, that's a hard thing for me to say that that's an advice or one step, say, hey, you need to do this to grow. It's what worked for us.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important because some people, they're so focused on getting the next client that they don't take care of the current client that they have. It's kind of like this hamster wheel that you keep going and going and going, and then you end up losing clients and having to replace them. And I think there is value of just times. I know I've had to tell myself many times, slow down, focus on the clients that you have, make the impact. That will lead to other clients. That will lead to retention, and good things will come from it.
Exactly. If you are just looking for a new client and old ones who aren't being taken care of are going out the door,
right,
that relationship goes back to what we were saying before. It's transactional,
yeah,
right?
It's a leaky bucket.
What did they pay to buy those new computers that they need to refresh, and they don't take care of them and make sure they're using things properly or ways that are beneficial to them? They just go out the back door, which is a really expensive way to grow a services company because client acquisition is hard. It's expensive. It's taxing on your people because there's stress there. There's stress at the client level. It's really noisy. New clients want to get to that peace level, right? And my team wants to get to that peace level where they know the client, that when they have an issue, they know where to go to solve it, put in solutions that avoid problems down the road. And that's why clients come to us as well, that we're going to be caring for them and we're going to get them to a level of stability and peace, and let's get those ripple waves down a little bit.
How has AI impacted your industry, or how might it change in a big way moving forward as a managed service provider?
AI brings a lot of dimensions to complexities for us. Most people, we joke, most people use AI for what we call fancy Google. Really, you go to ChatGPT and ask nearly the same question you would have asked Google to get a broader answer, right?
An interaction. There's a conversation there versus Google, where it's
exactly where it can take context.
Yeah.
That brings the first challenge is that most people say, well, great, well, ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot are there for me to use, right? So they go out there and use it. It's free. I can use a free system. And then they get into a situation, they have a problem with a customer or a client or an issue, and they start putting that information in there, not realizing you just broke all of your data governance. You've not realized that when you use those public instances, which are incredibly powerful and valuable, that every word, context, name, document that you put in there became part of the public model, which now becomes part of answers others get, which could really compromise your organization and your clients. So that brings to one of the very first things we've had to deal with our clients is teaching them data governance. How do we keep your work product, your client information, your internal financials, your personal safe while using the power of the language models and the AI processing? So teaching them how to use that, how licensing it, using a private instance. That's one thing. That's your generative side of this, where you're asking it for questions and how you use that system. We're getting a lot of questions now on using the agentic side of it, using the AI agents to help them either automate, simplify their processes, right? And that brings in integrators. There are some really good people in our community right here who are integrators who can help bring AI solutions to the everyday. The next problem that we seem to run into, and I tend to meet with several AI developers in our region. They say, we have these great ways to develop AI that solve, all sorts of stuff, but we can't seem to get that in front of the small businesses. Meanwhile, small businesses say, I don't even understand this.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know the first question to ask about AI. I see commercials about AI. I see when I open up Microsoft Word, it's telling me to use AI to make a document, but I don't know what that even means. So I see a gap. Right, I see a gap between the problem that a small business actually perceives. Yeah, and I'm going to be clear: the problems are the same problems they had 10 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 50 years ago. It's how do I get clients faster? How do I make them more profitable? How do I get my people more productive? Right. And when an organization realizes these are the issues, back in the 90s and 2000s, it was all about getting CRM or ERP systems in there, right? Then other tools that came in or mobility came in. I look at it similarly, that AI is that it's the tool that you need to be able to identify what the problem is and a client has, that we're actually solving that problem. When's the last time an organization came to me or a web developer and says, you know what, I really want Python?
Right.
Great tool. Absolute answer to getting a great website or automation in place. But they don't ask that. They ask a question more like, our website's terrible. How do we rebuild that?
That's how they talk.
And then, and that right there is the need. What do you want the website to do? Now, a developer is going to go to them and say, based on what you said, okay, you need a blog, you need to be able to integrate with social media, we want to have a chat bot on there. WordPress is the right answer, right? Or whatever it would be. The same kind of thing that the conversations we're starting to have with our clients are, well, where are your challenges? You have a goal for growth. We're the IT partner, but we have insight into the tools that work for you. If your client acquisition is slow or whatever it would be, where you have a CRM system right now, but it doesn't integrate with your Outlook, or it's tough to get that data out of there. If analyzing that data is a problem, Now we can probably figure out a way to use AI to create the data crunching that gets it into a report or a cadence that you need.
There you go.
That solve your problem, that gets the right information in front of your salespeople and your producers. So this is the evolution that I'm seeing right now, that the small business knows it's out there, no idea how to ask the question. The developers are out there, but don't know how to approach the small businesses. And there's an integration challenge that we're going to be seeing in the next year that I think are going to be amazing. So many of them are not necessarily about job replacement. They're about, your salesperson is always guessing about what that prospect needs. But if you can use AI to hook in with the public model and your CRM to nail down a specific product that you have, give you insight into that client, what their struggle is, that you can go to them prepared on your sales message, and AI can present that to you. That's where their solutions come from. So I know that wasn't the question you really asked.
No, it's good.
But we just see AI as it's a challenge from a communication standpoint and understanding standpoint. It's also got a scary side of it because all the news says, well, it's going to replace all of our jobs. But at the same time, there are real opportunities for all the small businesses in the area to embrace and see and learn how to ask the right questions.
Yeah. I think it is a skill to separate the hype from what can actually solve a problem. I see it in my world, in the content marketing world, everyone's like, use ChatGPT for everything. And now all their content and posts, I just had a conversation with yesterday with a business owner, and she's like, I'm really proud of myself. I'm learning to come out of my shell, and I want to be myself and really let that show in the content. And then we reviewed her content, and I'm like, this is all ChatGPT. And she's like, yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, slow down, right? Make sure the human voice and your story and the things that matter are in the content, not just, hey, write me a post, automate. And I think that's where people AI is so great, and it's going to solve a lot of problems that it already is, and hopefully make things more efficient. But I think there is, the lens you look at it has to be, how can this help me solve a problem or genuinely maybe better, not just, eliminate a task that I was doing before that I don't want to do anymore, and I'm just going to have AI do everything for me. I look at it like a creative assistant. It's someone that sits beside you as I'm writing maybe, and I say, I'm stuck on how to phrase this. Hey, ChatGPT, help me, give me 5 other ways to phrase this, or rewrite this one sentence, or help me come up with a bold hook for this, or a thumbnail design, or whatever it is, right? But it's not controlling the actual message or the story.
You're absolutely correct. I think so many of us start to feel the drug of AI when we start to realize, well, this was a document that would have taken me 3 weeks to create.
Yes.
And now I can get it to an 85% in about 15 minutes.
It's incredible.
The time saver part for
Huge.
Those of us who are serial over-taskers and over-schedulers is a wonderful thing. But that slippery slope is, well, do I let that 85% be the 100%?
Right. There you go.
And knowing that 15%, now I can actually add the stuff that, if I was spending 3 weeks getting this document ready, right, how much am I really focusing on the details to making it really something, a special product? If I can have something create that 85%, now I'm using that last 15% to say, you know what, I'm going to kick this over the top. I'm going to make this different from everybody else. The construct, the bullet points, the compliance, right? For example, I just used it to help give me some ideas on where my employee handbook was missing things. It couldn't create all the things, but it did help me pull in what are the statutes and the Illinois laws that came up over the last 6 months that I was missing. But I still had a lot of work to do in our own office to make sure that this document was what we needed, or possibly even just a marketing document, right? Mm-hmm. Look at what we've done in the past. Look at what our clients are and our tickets that people are calling in for. Can you process this data? Give me the stuff, but I need it to make it sound like Matt wrote this.
Right.
Yeah, AI does have the ability to start to pick up a little bit of my tone, but it's still not the same.
Yeah,
right.
I agree. One of the questions as we get to sort of the end here is I've been trying to ask founders on the show, a newer segment that I'm doing is, you spent this time growing this business, you've got some revenue, some profits. I'm curious where founders are investing outside of their business. Is there anything you can share there? Where are you putting some of the money? Whether it's like crypto, is it stocks, is it very traditional mutual funds? Is it real estate? Is there anything you can share as much as you want to share? Obviously, there's some things you're private about, but I'm just curious to get your thoughts. And I'm going to kind of ask all the founders that are on the show, because I think other founders are curious. What do they invest? Where are they putting their money to make it grow?
Yeah, I have a very dear and trusted financial advisor right here in the community as well. I am not financially investment savvy. That's just really not my world. Trying to take, money first, just like the rest of us, goes to making sure the people around me are taken care of. I'm really focused right now on making sure my son gets through college. Yes, that's been planned for, but that's the thing. I've had a principle that, just like my parents did for me, I would love him to exit college without the burden of debt. So making sure that happens as well. As far as my future goes, I do a really good job of balancing, making sure I've got something going. But
any crypto?
No.
I'm always curious.
Not a crypto guy. Very very conventional and traditional as far as I go. But honestly, even closer to a fault, I believe that tomorrow is not guaranteed to me. So
I feel the same way. So it's like live today.
The never miss a moment blended with I can sponsor a lifestyle that I would like to have now, without being stupid and and spending everything. But there's a significant amount just allows me, my partner, my son, to live a life that we are enjoying right now.
Speaking of that, I've got a picture here. This little guy.
That's my boy.
Your son.
Yeah, that's Aaron.
Close this out by asking you, Aaron is his name? Mm-hmm. What's one thing that Aaron has taught you, whether about business or life, that you hold pretty dearly that maybe you didn't expect to get from? Because they're little, they're not like sitting you down to impart wisdom on you, but they teach you things as you raise kids. And I'm curious what's something that Aaron has taught you, whether he was little or where it's even now.
Boy, the overarcher, it still goes back to the never miss a moment and be present.
I figured you were going to say that. Yeah.
Everything that this guy means to me has really grown from that look you get back. Mm-hmm. Right? When you open your eyes and you look straight and let him see into your soul, that you just be there. And then when they're 4, they're 10, they're 15, and now 19, and you walk into his apartment in college and you get that look back of the trust that you've been here, you're here again. He has paid that back in dividends by just showing the presence back. He and I take an annual trip together, and
that's awesome.
When I've told it to other friends, this last one, he and I spent 9 days together in hotel rooms. They're like, "My gosh, how did he not kill you after 2 days?" And what we do is that we're touring the major league ballparks. Okay, so we're seeing the country, just the two of us going to see the major league ballparks. Yeah. This last summer, we flew out to D.C., spent 3 days in D.C., 5 days in New York to see the Red Sox, Yankees, and then trained and saw the Cubs and Philly. So 3 ballparks, 9 days, touring around hotels. And by the end of the trip, we were talking about, I wish this wasn't over.
Yeah.
And I had worried about it, that by day 3, we were kind of going to be at each other's throats. And he trusts. He shows me how to trust, and he reminds me that it's just all worth it being in the moment at all times.
Man, I love that. I feel the in the moment thing I think is so spot on, and something you really do learn from kids. I think the other thing is appreciating the little things. Like I remember when they were little and we didn't have a lot. They didn't care. They don't care. They just want, they want you to be with them and to be doing whatever you're doing with them in the moment, and appreciate the small things in life, because they especially when they're little, they get excited about the littlest, stupidest stuff, and you're like, dang, I gotta make sure I don't lose my inner child and my excitement and my curiosity. I gotta sign this as be curious. Those are things too, be curious, stay vibrant, stay looking at the world with amazement, because I think sometimes you grow, you have all these things that happen to you, and you kind of get this chip on your shoulder, and it's sometimes easy to forget that stuff.
Yeah. Don't forget that you were a kid once and you can still be one, right?
That's right.
Just go ahead and act like it. Be silly. Ask the dumb questions.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you start thinking about, other ways you're curious and staying, getting out of that rut and roll that you get every day that you have to be the expert. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Matt, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been an amazing conversation. I'd love to have you back at some point, maybe next year
Alex,
too.
This was amazing. I absolutely love doing this.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about what you guys do?
Sure. TEQWORKS.com, TEQWORKS. You can get on there and see a little video about another great person who in the community who put together a video about what our clients think of us. LinkedIn is a great way to reach out to me. That's probably where I'm most active. So Matt Sidman, SIDMAN on LinkedIn. Come reach out to me, and would love to connect and see where the relationships go.
Beautiful. We'll link everything in the description of the show too.
Appreciate
so everyone
it.
will have it. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks.